Smooth sailing. See if you can save on commercial auto insurance in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverages and discounts not available in all states and subject to policy terms and underwriting.
Planning for spring at Lowe's means big savings on outdoor power equipment. And Lowe's knows nothing feels better than free. Buy one select Ego string trimmer, leaf blower, or mower kit. Get one select 56-volt battery free. That's up to a $299 value. Power through spring with Ego, the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Because Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 4/3 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no service fees. Shop ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone. Now back to mornings with Sharp and Hanlon on 1620 The Zone.
All right. You know, there's one thing about living in this wonderful town, in this wonderful state.
Yes.
And I'll have friends that'll say, how in the heck do you guys do sports talk live 6A to 6P? And then I say, put some respect on Jimmy Allen. We do 6A to 8P sometimes. They're like, you guys don't have enough stuff going on. And I sit down because I got to tell you about what goes on in the state of Nebraska that surrounds the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, the football program, and just sports in general. So let's go back a week ago at 9 a.m. There was a tweet that came out from the Houston Chronicle that Trev Alberts was headed to Texas A&M to be the athletic director. Mm-hmm. We spent the whole day going back and forth. We got angry. We got happy. We got hopeful. And then we got the news late on Wednesday afternoon, a week ago today, about Trev is gone. Well, we got all this president thing going on. So this lasts throughout the week. Trev goes to Texas A&M. Nebraska and Texas A&M play in men's and women's basketball. We get a flyer in our mail, and we go, well, today, the Board of Regents are still meeting to decide on who their priority candidate is going to be the president.
Yep.
Now, it has now lasted about an hour, which I don't know if that's a good thing to come to a conclusion. But while all that is going on, Nebraska has hired an athletic director. This is not The Onion on the radio.
Wait, what?
This is actually what's going on. Pete Thamel is the first to report it. Troy Dannon, who my connection with Troy Dannon is he was in charge of the Iowa High School Girls Athletic Association.
Oh, all right. Back when you were at Urbandale?
I've known of Troy for a long time.
Okay.
He went to UNI, then he went to Tulane, and then this past fall, he went to Washington. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what he's doing right now? He is finalizing a 6-year deal to become the new athletic director at the University of Nebraska. First reported by Pete Thamel. In a week, Nebraska has hired an athletic director. Publicly, they announced their search firm yesterday.
Yep.
Today, they are announcing an athletic director who spent 7 years in New Orleans and helped with Willie Fritz resurrect Tulane football. Mm-hmm. He goes from UNI, so he goes from Cedar Falls to New Orleans, and then in October gets hired at Washington because Washington's AD left to go to be the USC AD. Mm-hmm. He watches Kellen DeBoer leave, hires a football coach. Now, Troy Dannon, according to Pete Thamel, has left to become the athletic director at the University of Nebraska. Now, your favorite memories of Troy Dannon as the AD at Washington, but your favorite memories of him at Tulane, they had in 22-23 one of the most successful athletic seasons.
Yeah.
Culminated, remember, they went to the Cotton Bowl mm-hmm. and beat USC. Mm-hmm. So Troy Dannon is coming back to the Midwest. As Pete Thamel is reporting, And I thought my Hoiberg note was like a blow your mind morning. Troy Dannon finalizing a 6-year deal to be the athletic director at the University of Nebraska.
So let me get this straight. So it took...
Oh, I don't know. You're going to get anything straight in this state with stuff that goes on.
It took a week, or even after the search committee was announced, 24 hours to land on your guy. And we're at what, month 7 to fight a president?
So the beautiful university in Seattle has lost their head coach and AD.
Yeah. And they're coming to the Big Ten.
The first thing that pops into my head, I mean, it got into the transfer portal. He was at Washington for 5 months.
Yeah.
What? This just answered my question. Nebraska and Washington are Adidas schools.
Yes, they are.
Ooh, okay.
All
right. This is wild.
I know you've had an ear to the ground on this one. This is not a name that we were hearing a lot.
No.
And I'm not saying I'm not trying to say, that's a problem, because there was always going to be the profile of the individual, of what you would look at that could be the right fit at Nebraska. But I think how quickly this has happened. This is probably the most interesting thing to process right now, is how quickly they've landed on Troy Dannon. And so now everybody, I'm sure, is doing the exact same thing. And that is looking at the resume, as Gary brought up his previous stop and stops. Some good things there on that resume. Midwest guy, Cedar Falls guy. Hey, so was the previous athletic director here too. But I'm stunned how quickly this has taken place.
So I know that the wheels got put in motion pretty quick. What does it say? 951-1620. That Nebraska has hired an athletic director before president. Okay, so a little background. So I am familiar with Troy. Good hire for Nebraska. He has served on the NCAA competition committee. He has also been part of the college football oversight committee. I know also he has been involved in his brief time in Seattle with how the Big Ten is going to schedule Olympic sports. So that's been like one of his things, because in his previous role before he ever got into the college athletics, he had to do a lot of scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
But this went quick, in essentially less than a week.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was literally 9 a.m. this time a week ago is when we learned of the story that Trev Alberts was taking the Texas A&M job. And here we are. If you would have told me then, after it became official, so at the end of last Wednesday, that, well, this time next week, you'll have your new athletic director, I would have thought you were sniffing glue.
All right, so the people in Washington be real happy with Nebraska. Good. Nebraska went and poached somebody. If you're wondering, there's a quick question here. Does not have a connection to Matt Rule. Again, helped with Willie Fritz get the Green Wave football program headed in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So a 6-year deal. This was first reported by Pete Thamel. A 6-year deal is being finalized. But you get a guy who is, in a brief time, familiar with the Big Ten, is from the Midwest, from Iowa, and made a good hire with Willie Fritz. So now back to what's Nebraska going to do with their president?
Right. And okay, so this is a serious question.
Yes, he is an alum of UNI. He's a Panther.
So is my wife. Maybe she knows him.
Boy, Fred Hoiberg was in trouble. Ben Jacobson might be the head coach.
Yeah.
Just kidding. This is a good hire. This is a good hire. He is not like the last athletic director that came from Washington, the state of Washington.
Well, they've said about the president that you would want a guy to be here. This was according to Governor Jim Pillen, that you would want a guy to be here for at least the next decade. Aren't we looking at the athletic director in a similar role of in it for the long haul, somebody that is going to not only dig into this job currently as it is, but also more than prepared for the future of it? And I'm glad you brought up because I wasn't aware as far as his involvement on the competition committee. And when it does come to some of the maybe not so glamorous parts of scheduling athletic director role when it comes to Olympic sports, is something we don't talk about as much, but something that we've all wondered about, especially with the Big Ten as it expands on how scheduling and everything is going to happen. I like that there's experience there that shows the flexibility of having ideas, being a visionary. And that's, I think, two things that I know I wanted to see out of the next athletic director for Nebraska. And this is where I will use what Trev was in being that visionary. You want part of that, but you also want that commitment. And I love the fact, again, that there's a Midwest guy. And I know people say, well, so is Trev.
Yeah, we're done with him. We're on to Troy Dannon. This is for the Nebraska setup, this is a good hire. Interesting, in Seattle, he had not been there very long, and they're also in the middle of a search for a men's basketball coach. Mm-hmm. He worked pretty quickly to hire, after he lost his football coach, to hire Fish. Travis brings up an interesting point here, and as this is just unfolded, again, if you're just tuning in, Pete Thamel first to report it, that Troy Dannon, who he came up in running the Iowa High School Athletic Association, went to Northern Iowa, back to his alma mater, was the AD there, then made the jump to Tulane, got them headed in the right direction with football, was hired in October to go to Seattle and take over at Washington, and now, according to Pete Thamel, a 6-year deal to be the new athletic director at Nebraska. A week after Nebraska lost their athletic director, Travis writes in, and I'm sure this will be a question that will be asked and maybe probed and maybe answered quickly, is do you think he was a candidate for the Nebraska AD job before they hired Trev, which is why it happened so quickly? I also wonder if somebody thought that, because Trev did let a couple of key people know 2 weeks ago that Texas A&M was a possibility, that then the wheels got put in motion.
That this could have been in the works a week ago after you knew that news was inevitable, that this could have been a process of finalizing down to one person. Now, this is where I'm also curious.
It's official now because his Wikipedia page has been updated. And we just got an email from Nakona. He said it was on his Wikipedia page yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
So we've got an interim president. I'm wanting to know how this whole process played out, though. Was it Chris Kamorik and being able to be part of the committee or being able to identify it? How much was he in the loop? And was it just presented to the Board of Regents this morning? Like this was something that they've had in the back pocket for the last couple of days. They presented it to the Board of Regents this morning. They approved it, and here we are.
Governor went rogue.
Just went and hired him.
Governor went and hired the AD.
Governor Pillen said, "You know what? I got this."
So Troy Dannon, new athletic director at Nebraska. Good. They get it out of the way. We can focus on basketball.
Yeah. It's true. You go into Friday night. The other athletic director. Oh, and Nebraska's got theirs. He's going to hopefully get on a flight to Memphis. He'll be on that flight. He'll be there. GB Arnett.
All right.
Wow. That happened. That escalated quickly.
Yes, it did. And will be interesting to put the timeline quickly together.
Yes.
So wanted to come back to the Midwest, apparently, and come back to a place that gives him plenty of options. Good background, very well respected in the industry. And again, I'm familiar with Troy, so
we'll look forward to having him on soon.
He's somebody who is, talk about going step by step to get to, this job. He has done that from the high school sports, the Missouri Valley Conference, to an athletic program that does not have a lot of funds in a major city to another major city, and in a short time, he's back in the Midwest. 919. Yeah, never. Nothing amazes you anymore.
No.
Nothing.
It
Just like about a week ago.
It shouldn't.
All right, mornings with Sharp and Hanley on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Hanley, and Jimmy Chop.